Mesa. Good morning. My name is Bob Foster. I taught social studies at Bridgewater Rainham for 40 years.
I'm Christina Blunt. I work here at the university.
Michael Georges. I work for a lumber company, but I'm a lawyer, so don't let that fool you.
Okay, we have chosen question 3. Oh, I'm sorry. Would you please introduce yourselves?
Yes. I'm Chris Warren, senior at Pembroke High School. I'm Pat Cunningham, the same.
I'm Jane Edwards, a senior at Pembroke High School.
Introduce your teacher.
Brandon Hall, AP government teacher.
Okay, question 3. On the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson, its author, wrote that the object of the Declaration was to not find out new principles or new arguments never before thought of, but to place before mankind the common sense of the subject, in terms so plain and firm as to command their assent, and to justify ourselves in the independent stand we are compelled to take. What were the main ideas or principles set forth in the Declaration? Jefferson freely acknowledged that the Declaration borrowed from the works of Aristotle, Cicero, Locke, Sidney, etc. What are some of those ideas borrowed and used in the Declaration? And finally, do these principles and arguments have relevance in the world today? Explain your answer.
All men are created equal, that they are endowed by this Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In Thomas Jefferson's very own writing in the Declaration, he bluntly explained that every human being deserves basic rights and should not have them taken away by any tyrant or ruler. The main principles set forth in the Declaration were not only that every human is entitled to these rights from birth, but that no ruler, no matter how powerful in any government, can take them away from another human. Jefferson used the ideas and principles of many great philosophers and thinkers, including the philosopher John Locke, whose ideas almost perfectly mirrored this idea of a human being entitled to unalienable rights. In a current world where life is crazy and people in various countries are fighting for not only their freedom but their rights, the principles and the arguments set forth in the famous document are extremely relevant. When applying the Declaration to today's world, the parallels are strikingly similar.
When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. The colonists separated from the crown because of the very reasons that their basic human rights were being infringed upon, and that England had far too much power and were abusing the amount they had. This basic human rights and laws of nature idea was a direct link to John Locke, whose idea was that all humans are entitled to these natural rights from the minute they are born to the very minute they die. Jefferson's ideas about natural law and that these rights should not be affected by the government are also taken from the Roman philosopher Cicero, who believed in natural law that all humans deserve rights from their birth. These ideas can be applied to every aspect in the world today.
It is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute a new government. The American government, as well as other democracies all across the world, still follow this idea instituted in the Declaration of Independence. A perfect example is the United States Constitution and its ability to allow the American government branches to collectively change the law of the land, so to speak. The people literally hold the rights to alter the government in small or large ways, depending on the law being changed. The people also hold the right to abolish laws they find unconstitutional, or abolish leaders if they fail to do their job correctly. Some of the other countries that use a form of this idea in their governments are France, Brazil, Argentina, Ireland, the United Kingdom, Spain, South Africa, Canada, Mexico, and Germany. The next idea that is applicable to today's world is the right that all men are created equal. In these countries, every person has natural rights, including the right to religion, free speech, and the right to own property. Thomas Jefferson's ideas used in the Declaration of Independence are used every day, whether directly or indirectly. From the ideas of Cicero to Locke to Jefferson, all the way to today's governments, the ideas of the Declaration of Independence are still relevant today.
follow-up questions now.
Okay, first follow-up question. Evaluate the argument for a right to revolution set forth in the Declaration.
Okay, well, the argument for the right to revolution in the Declaration is very important because it's almost, I guess it almost acts like a check on the people and the government. The government can't treat their people wrongly, and it's the people's government, so the people have the right to abolish the government if it's treating them wrongly. They are entitled to a free, right government.
Yeah, I mean, if the people see anything wrong with the government, I mean, it's their natural right to change it. And if they think by means of, revolution, they should change the government, it's their complete right from nature.
It relates to the ideas of the rights to liberty, where the people themselves can have a say in what goes on in their country.
John Locke's consent to the governed is very important.
Thank you very much. Our second follow-up question is, in what ways does the Declaration reflect principles of classical republicanism?
Well, classical republicanism focuses on community and does not really focus too much on individualism, more focuses on what the public good is. So the Declaration of Independence, which talked about the grievances the colonists had against King George III, was not more in interest of individualism, but it was more in the interest of the public. The public wanted a free government that would entitled to their rights, that they would have perfect representation in, rather than be unlawfully represented by King George III in Parliament in Great Britain.
Well, the Declaration,
Classical republicanism directly relates to Aristotle's ideas of community more than individualism, like Chris said, whereas they focus more on the idea of people working together and working equally to create equal rights for everyone instead of working as one, which relates to our government today, where they're trying to make equal rights for everyone, such as like healthcare, and they're just trying to work together to make it fair for everyone.
Okay, third follow-up question. Why do you think the Declaration of Independence didn't appeal to the rights of an Englishman?
Well, the rights of the Englishman included the, it included the right of individualism. It actually emphasized individualism in English society, and the Declaration of Independence more focused on common good, getting everyone on the same page, having the United States government in a way that would promote the common good.
Although the common good was still important for the rights of the Englishmen, they did focus on individualism, which created them all working for themselves instead of as a group of people who ended up working out equally.
Let me ask you this, what important ideas from natural rights philosophy are incorporated in the Declaration?
Well, natural rights philosophy emphasizes that humans have, it is individualistic, but they also have the consent of the governed, and the government derives its rights from the people. So it's important, it's found in the Declaration of Independence because when the founding fathers, Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, he was focusing on he was focusing on the people giving the right of the government to rule, whereas for equal representation purposes, instead of having Parliament just unlawfully represent them.
well, essentially the reason the Declaration was made was because the colonists' rights were being infringed upon, and England was directly violating basically the colonists' natural rights. So, that's the reason the Declaration was written, because these basic natural rights of property, the right to own land, England was infringing upon them, so it's essentially why the Declaration was written.
what ways does the Declaration reflect John Locke's social contract theory?
John Locke's social contract theory was that that the government humans derive their right to rule from the people, as I stated earlier. And that's the social contract of the United States government right now, is that the people give the right of the government to rule. And it's found in when the government decides to rule based off the
And also Jefferson writes, that the king can't just rule the people. It's the people's job to tell the government what they should be doing. And that's what Locke's basic philosophy was, that the people, it's the people's job to decide what the government should do.
Okay, now the judges will give you some feedback.
I think this is one of the harder units to do. And when you're talking philosophy, you're talking about a lot of people who lived an awful long time ago, wrote an awful long time ago. It's hard to remember specifically how that application is. So you guys stumbled a bit, and you stumbled a bit because I think this is a particularly difficult unit to do.
No, I would say I really appreciated the way that if one of you was having a problem or didn't know, somebody else swooped right back in. It shows a good sort of team collaborative effort around putting together the answers to the question. So I think that was excellent. I think more current examples would help you, and it shows us that you're able to carry your analysis of a historical event into the current day. But I thought that you showed a really great team effort. So thank you.
I'm going to echo what she just said. I really like the way that when one of you may have hit a bit of a hurdle, someone else was right there to jump in as a team effort, guys, as far as that goes. And anytime you can make old stale material, which, let's face it, that's what some of this stuff is, a little bit more current, drawing on examples from today's events. It just brings it alive, but nice job.
And I do give you credit for the courage to jump in and help one of your colleagues, even though you weren't all that sure yourself, but you didn't want them dangling in the breeze. So I really do appreciate that. That's important.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.